This is essentially a video of Gideon being cranky about something, so let's just dive right into this. The past few days, we've had buildings around the world, including here in South Africa, lit up in the colors of the Ukrainian flag in order to pledge solidarity with the Ukrainian people whilst they are under the heel of a Russian military invasion of their state. And a couple of things on this. Disclaimer, firstly, my thoughts and sympathies are with the Ukrainian people as well. I find the government reprehensible equally as I find the Russian government reprehensible. And this might come as a surprise to some of you, but I find almost every government reprehensible, hence me being an anarchist. So please don't expect me to sympathize with a government or take the side of a state, because it's all bullshit to me. But that aside, okay, so we've had buildings lit up in the colors of the Ukrainian flag, solidarity with Ukraine. All good and well. However, none of that was present while the Chinese were genociding the Uyghur Muslims in the west of that country, forcibly sterilizing them, forcing them into internment camps, murdering them, subjecting them to a high-tech system of social control. No buildings lit up in solidarity with them. Similarly, when the Chinese rolled into Hong Kong and essentially subjugated that free special economic zone to Communist Party control via the violent use of force, repression, disappearing journalists, all that sort of stuff, equally nothing. No buildings lit up in sympathy, none of that. Similarly, the bombing of Yemen. Kindergartens, children, women, elderly being killed there in ongoing hostilities, years old, nothing. Same with conflict zones in Africa, insurgency in Mozambique, an immediate neighbor of South Africa. We've never lit any buildings up in Mozambique in colors. There's been a lot of pearl-clutching, hand-waving to explain these things, okay? But let's maybe cut to the chase about it. When crises like this occur, on the European mainland, on the doorstep of the West, when it hits close to home, then all of a sudden we sit up and pay attention. When it is Western militaries perpetrating atrocities in so-called shithole countries, far removed in another sphere of the world, we don't care. We couldn't give less of a fuck what happens in Syria, what happens in Libya, what happens in Venezuela. We don't even care about the civil right oppression and repression happening in Western states right now, Canada, New Zealand, Australia, the United Kingdom, where civil rights that we've taken for granted for centuries, after having fought very hard to obtain them, were just run roughshod over by so-called democratically elected governments, just suspending constitutional and civil rights and freedoms because of a supposed pandemic. In fact, we hand-waved and pull-clutched those away as well, with appeal to scientific authority, science being the new god of the 21st century, us having replaced religion with a sort of scientism where we do not have a holy scripture in the sense of the Bible or Quran or something like that, but holy scripture as in scientific journal publications. We make excuses for our hypocrisy. We make excuses for our double standards, yet the double standard certainly does exist. We live in a country in South Africa with 21,000 murders a year, 40,000 reported rapes and cases of sexual assault a year, countless violent robberies and other instances of violent confrontational crime. We have more unemployed people than we have employed people, with that trajectory getting worse. And we are more concerned in our political discussion sphere about what is happening in Eastern Europe than we are with the fact that we have starving children in the Eastern Cape eating plants to survive, wild plants, because there's nothing else, as well as the fact that we are still in a state of disaster, still under the heel of the National Corona Command Council headed up by Nkosazana Dlamini Zuma, that we are heading for a second series of July riots that will lay waste to what remains of this economy. And we don't have priorities with being concerned about this. That is my problem.